Space exploration started many centuries ago, but really started to progress in the 1940s, and ever since then has evolved in many ways. After hearing this information from the beginning to end, the audience should be able to understand what happened in the last 60 years of space exploration. Space exploration has been a major topic in science for many decades, but it has widely grown since the 1940s. In the beginning of the 1940s, the space race emerged and became a phenomenon throughout the world. The space race started during the Cold War when the two nations, the USA and the Soviet Union, started fighting for power over air supremacy. The Soviet Union launched a spacecraft named Sputnik into space, and that ended up starting a revolutionary movement of space technology. It all started in 1942 with the German V2, which was the first rocket to reach 100 kilometers from the Earth's surface or beyond the boundary of space. The V2 rocket was the first long-range ballistic missile. The rocket was designed by Bernard von Braun, who later worked with NASA as the creator of the rockets that went to the moon. In 1947, the first animals were launched into space. Fruit flies were used to study the effects of space travels on animals, and were chosen because they were more similar to humans than you could imagine. Humans and flies are similar because they have the same number of genes. The main purpose of the experiment with fruit flies was to explore the effects of radiation exposure to high altitudes. Large bags of corn were also stored to help to keep the fruit flies alive in space. Soon after, Albert II was the first monkey that was sent into space. He was a rheus monkey, a small monkey from Southwest Asia. The monkeys were implanted with sensors to measure vital signs and were under anesthesia during the launch. Albert went into space on June 14, 1949, in a specially adapted American V2 rocket that flew to a height of 83 miles from Earth. The death rate among monkeys at this stage is very high. About 2/3 of the monkeys launched in the 1940s and 1950s died either at the launch or during the launch. As the 1940s came to an end and the 1950s began, the space race between the USA and the Soviet Union only grew stronger.
In 1957, the space race between the US and the USSR was really triggered with the launching of Russia's Sputnik 1, which was the world's first successful artificial satellite. This happened during the Cold War, and this proof that Russia could send satellites into space made many Americans very afraid that they'd also be able to send ballistic missiles with nuclear weapons over to America. The size of the Sputnik was far more impressive than the proposed Vanguard the U.S. had been working on. And just a month later, Sputnik 2 went up with an even heavier payload, which included what would be the first dog in space, Lakia. Unfortunately for her, a re-entry plan was not formed, so she would die in space and continue to orbit for a few more days until the systems would shut off and it would re-enter the atmosphere and burn up. In an attempt to catch up with the Russians, the U.S. immediately passed the National Aeronautics and Space Act, which would create the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or NASA. And by 1950, both the U.S. and the USSR were working quickly in hopes of being the first to the moon, and the Russians would win this too, their space probe Luna 2, which crashed into the moon at a speed that would have killed anyone had they been in it. Luckily, this was an unmanned probe, and it would be another 10 years before a human would walk on the moon. In 1958, the U.S. would successfully launch their satellite Explorer 1, which would discover magnetic radiation belts around Earth. And the Explorer program continues as a series of lightweight, scientifically useful spacecraft. In 1961, the first man in space would be Russian cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin. His spacecraft, the Vostok 1, would make one orbit around the Earth and land just about 2 hours after it was launched. He had to parachute out because it was actually designed to crash land. In In that same year, America would send their first man to space, Alan Shepard. They were only about a month late for being first to space. 20 days after putting Alan in space, President Kennedy would issue a challenge and initiative to put a man on the moon by the end of the decade. Many of you have probably heard of Sally Ride, the first woman in space. However, she was actually the first American woman in space. The first woman in space would actually be another Russian cosmonaut, Valentina Nikolaeva, over 20 years before Sally Ride rode in the Challenger. In February of 1966, Russian spacecraft Luna 9 would be the first to land on the moon, and in June of the same year, the Surveyor 1, an American spacecraft, would land. It would transmit photos of the moon's terrain, and scientists back here would use it as information as a way to try to figure out how we can safely land people on the moon. But as you can see, America kind of lagged behind slightly in the space race throughout. However, we would finally have a victory being the first. On July 20th, 1969, Americans Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin would take the first steps on the moon. Their spaceship, Apollo 11, worked perfectly, transporting them the 250,000 miles to and then from the moon. Another, the Apollo 13, wouldn't be quite so lucky.
Okay, so the reason why Apollo 13 wasn't so lucky was that they had a couple of malfunctions as they were getting up into space, and they never actually made it to the moon, and they actually barely made it home. They almost ran out of oxygen, but they finally made it home, and it's one of the greatest accomplishments in human history to this day. And the next year, the Soviet Union tried to push forward against the Americans, and they added their own space station called the Southern One, and that happened on April 19, 1971. The next year, the Americans decided to end putting people on the moon, and on December 11th, Eugene Cernan and Harrison Jack Schmitt became the last men to walk on the moon. And by the end of the 1970s, they were just focusing on going further into space and discovering more about our solar system. And in 1976, the American probe Viking 2 discovered water frost on the Martian surface, and that was a big breakthrough for us. And in 1977, Voyager 1 and 2 were launched. Voyager 2 launched first because it was slower, and Voyager 1 had a faster trajectory, so they had it planned perfectly. And in 1979, Voyager 1 and 2 began transmitting images of Jupiter and her moons, and that's when they started to discover a lot more how many moons Jupiter had, and like the Great Big Red Spot, a lot of things you guys know. And in 1980, Voyager 1 reached Saturn and began transmitting images of like the rings and what it was made of, and they found out many things about Saturn. And in 1983, the second space shuttle Challenger was launched, and that was very revolutionary because we were trying to get the space shuttle to become bigger and just grow for the Americans. And in 1984, on February 3rd, astronaut Bruce McCandless became the first man to take an untethered spacewalk on the ISS, the International Space Station, which they just started growing during the 1980s. And in 1985, Atlantis, the fourth space shuttle, was launched. And in 1989, Voyager 2 began transmitting images from Neptune, and that was, as we knew, it was the furthest planet at that time. And we were very shocked to see, how far away it was and the temperatures and all that stuff. And then during the 90s, we decided to keep going forward, but we decided to go towards Venus and closer to the sun. And on August 10th, Magellan spacecraft began mapping the surface of Venus using radar equipment. And in 1992, the shuttle Endeavour was launched on her maiden voyage. And on September 12th, Nate Jameson became the first African-American woman in space. In 1993, the Hubble Space Telescope was launched, and it's still in use today, and it's helped us discover many things, like the Hubble Deep Field, which was discovered recently. And in 1994, on February 3rd, Krikalev became the first Russian cosmonaut to fly on a space shuttle. So by the mid-90s, the space race really wasn't really against each other. We kind of just joined forces. And in 1995, February 2nd, Eileen Collins became the first female shuttle space pilot. And in December, the Galileo space probe began transmitting data on Jupiter. And Galileo pretty much was made for just Jupiter and Saturn. And in 1997, on July 4th, the Mars Pathfinder arrived on Mars and later began transmitting images. And we found out a lot about that. And we decided later to put some more probes on Mars and that discovered a lot about it, like much more water and maybe there's some life that was there. And in 1998, on October 29th, John Glenn became the oldest man in space.
Right, in 2000, the U.S. Near-Earth Asteroid Rendezvous, NEAR, spacecraft began transmitting images of the asteroid Eros. In 2001, NEAR landed on the surface of Eros. On April 28, 2001, American Dennis Tito became the first tourist in space after paying the Russian space program $20 million. In 2003, the space shuttle Columbia broke up on re-entry into the Earth's atmosphere. February 13, 2003, an investigative panel found that superheated air almost certainly seeped through a breach in the space shuttle Columbia's left wing and possibly its wheels compartment during the craft's fire descent, resulting in the deaths of all 7 astronauts. On August 25, 2003, NASA launched the largest diameter infrared telescope ever in space, the Spitzer Space Telescope. On September 21st, NASA's Galileo mission ended a 14-year exploration of the solar system's largest planet and its moons, with the spacecraft crashing by design into Jupiter at 108,000 miles per hour. In 2004, January 14, President Bush proposed a new space program that would send humans back to the moon by 2015 and establish a base to Mars and beyond. July 5, 2004, the Cassini spacecraft sent back photographs of seven shimmering rings. In 2005, a NASA spacecraft flew with a comet half the size of Manhattan, creating a brilliant cosmic smash-up designed to help scientists study the building blocks of life on Earth. On July 26, 2005, Space Shuttle Discovery was launched with 7 astronauts aboard. This was America's first manned space shot since the 2003 Columbia disaster. January 15, NASA spacecraft Stardust returned safely to Earth in a desert near Salt Lake City, with the first dust ever collected from a comet. In 2007, NASA launched its Phoenix Mars lander, and on August 8, 2007, Space Shuttle Endeavour and a crew of 7 blasted off with teacher astronaut Barbara Morgan aboard as a crew member. Morgan was the first teacher in space since the Challenger disaster in 1986. In 2008, the NASA space probe Messenger skimmed 124 miles above Mercury. 2009, the NASA spacecraft Kepler was launched. Its mission is to search for planets outside our solar system in a distant area of the Milky Way. June 18, NASA launched the Lunar Crater Observation and Sensing Satellite, also known as LCROSS. The mission is to confirm the presence or absence of ice on the moon. On November 13, 2009, NASA scientists announced the discovery of a significant amount of ice in a crater near the moon's south pole.
Even after the discovery of ice on the moon in 2009, the following year, President Obama halted existing plans and attention was redirected to exploring our neighboring planet, Mars. This resulted in the launch of Mars Rover Curiosity, which was sent to investigate and explore the surface of the planet. 2011 also sadly marked the end of the space shuttle program, which affected a lot of people, especially here in Florida, and I'm sure there are even some people in this room who know people who are affected by it. Thousands of jobs were lost at the end of the program when it was marked with the last flight of Shuttle Atlantis. The following year, 2012, Mars rover Curiosity landed on Mars after being launched in 2011, and where it transmitted the first pre-recorded message from the surface of Mars back to Earth, which was made by Administrator Charlie Bolden. And we actually have a video of that transmission.
Hello, this is Charlie Bolden, NASA Administrator, speaking to you via the broadcast capabilities of the Curiosity rover, which is now on the surface of Mars. Since the beginning of time, humankind's curiosity has led us to constantly seek new light, new possibilities just beyond the horizon. I want to congratulate the men and women of our NASA family, as well as our commercial and government partners around the world for taking us a step beyond to Mars. This is an extraordinary achievement. Landing a rover on Mars is not easy. Others have tried. Only America has fully succeeded. The investment we are making, the knowledge we hope to gain from our observation and analysis of Gale Crater, will tell us much about the possibility of life on Mars, as well as the past and future possibilities of our own planet. Curiosity will bring benefits to Earth and inspire a new generation of scientists and explorers as it prepares the way for a human mission in the not-too-distant future. Thank you.
As of recently, NASA is now designing and building the capabilities to send humans to explore the solar system. Exploring what's beyond our pale blue dot has been dreamed about ever since man first looked up into the sky. That dream has now become a reality with the technology newly developed in recent decades. Space exploration has been a big topic for many decades, and it grew in the 1950s and 1960s because of the rift between the USA and the Soviet Union during the time, which resulted in the historic space race. Space technology today is still evolving and is leading us to many new discoveries throughout the world and is still growing today.